How is it going, buddy? Welcome back to another episode of the Hip Drop Podcast. Luke and I are back to recap Super Bowl 60. The 2025 NFL season is officially in the books. This is our last episode covering the 2025 season before we move on to 2026. The combine is coming up in 2 weeks. The draft will be in a little over 2 months. Free agency is in just about a month. So football season never truly ends. The NFL offseason is basically the 2 weeks between the Super Bowl and the combine. We are here. But the Seattle Seahawks, as you know by now, the Seattle Seahawks, the birds of the Pacific Northwest, are your Super Bowl champions. They get it done. They win their second Super Bowl in franchise history, their first since 2013, and they get revenge on the team that denied them a repeat 11 years ago. They beat the New England Patriots 29-13, a game that was really not that close. I mean, it was Seattle dominated the game throughout, even if it didn't fully reflect on the scoreboard. It got somewhat interesting in the fourth quarter when Drake Maye threw a touchdown to Mac Hollins to make it 19-7. And then Seattle then punted, and then Maye threw a chicken chalupa with extra mayo to Julian Love, and that effectively ended the football game, giving Seattle their second Lombardi Trophy in franchise history. So good for the Seahawks. They are the champions of the 2025 NFL season, a weird season, an unconventional season, but a deserving champion. The Seahawks were a great team throughout. Every analytic, every metric, whether it's DVOA, whether it's team PFF grade, whatever you want to look at, they will show that the Seahawks were a deserving champion. They were not a fluke, and they deserve all the praise in the world. And the parade in Seattle will take place tomorrow. I'm sure those fans will go crazy. They have a large, passionate fan base that haven't waited to get back to this moment for over a decade, and they get it done. So kudos to the Seahawks. They win it all. We will be covering them. We'll be covering the loser of this game, the Patriots, and then we'll be looking for the future outlook for both these teams, as, of course, they are the last two teams standing this year. And then Lucas and I will do a fun exercise at the end of this episode in which we rank the last 10 Super Bowl winners. So where do the three Chiefs champion teams fall into that? Wait and see. But first of all, before we get into any of that, Lucas, how you doing? How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I mean, I somewhat enjoyed watching the Super Bowl just because I was rooting against the Patriots. But
yeah,
that was I know the score was like 29-13, but that Super Bowl easily could have been similar to what happened last year between the Chiefs and the Eagles. The difference is Seahawks were not able to get touchdowns when they went down the field. The Eagles were. Granted, the Eagles got a pick six mixed in there as well, but like it was 12-0. Like there's a hop. The Seahawks like a hop, skip, and a jump away from like that being like was it like 28-0 or something like that, or easily maybe instead of going 4 for field goals, they get 2 touchdowns mixed in there, and it's 20-0, and like then it's a completely different game. But at the same time, it's a weird season where the Seahawks feel like a weird champion, but at the same time, they feel like the deserving champion.
This is true.
It's like Seahawks won the Super Bowl, but at the same time, who would have been if it wasn't Seattle? I was a Rams guy all the way, but
the Rams, yes, those were the only two teams. Yeah. It was going to be one of those two teams, yeah. And Patriots fans were furious about this, but the NFC Championship was the real Super Bowl. The Seahawks and the Rams, that was the real Super Bowl. It was very similar to what happened in the early 90s with the 49ers and the Cowboys. That was the real Super Bowl every year. And whoever won the NFC, or the AFC rather, whether it was the Bills, whether it was the Chargers, whether it was the Steelers, they were basically footnotes to what the real Super Bowl was. That kind of felt like what the Patriots were this year. They were in the Super Bowl because they had to be. Not to take away from the Patriots, we'll get to them later on, but the better team won, the more complete team won. And like you said, that game was not, that final score, even though it was lopsided, it was 29-13, it was a multiple score game, was not indicative of how that game went. I should have mentioned Kenneth Walker III, the running back, was the MVP of the game the first time since 2021, where a non-quarterback won Super Bowl MVP. Walker III is a impending free agent. I don't see how Seattle lets him leave. He had a great season, and he was phenomenal in the playoffs. Really, really helped carry their offense. So Kenneth Walker III took MVP honors home. But I think the big story of this game was Seattle's defense was just absolutely dominant. And we broke down pretty much everything, and we said how the Patriots pretty much need to be close to perfect on offense to move the ball effectively in this game. McDaniels needs to create advantageous matchups. Maye needs to play like he did in the regular season. They need to hold up in protection, and positively, none of those things happened at all. New England did not score until the fourth quarter, and there was a stretch in the game where they got one first down in a span of 7 drives, which is just absolutely unheard of. They had a somewhat decent opening drive. They had a couple first downs, fizzled out. They had to punt. They got one first down over their next 7 drives, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And then, of course, the big play was Derek Hall stripping Drake Maye. Darnold throws the touchdown to AJ Barner to make it 19-0. And then I think the dagger was the dagger part one was the interception Maye threw to Julian Love. Dagger part two was the strip sack / pick six. Devin Witherspoon, who had a great game, hits Drake Maye. Uchenna Nwosu takes it back, which basically all but sealed the game for Seattle if it hadn't been sealed already. But it's easy to say the Patriots offense sucked, and it did, because I think McDaniels had a bad game plan. They struggled mightily up front. The whole left side of the line, and Will Campbell and Jared Wilson really, really struggled. And Maye, prior to some pretty expert stat padding late in the game, had one of the worst performances by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. Back-to-back years where the losing quarterback in the Super Bowl was pretty historically bad up until garbage time. Of course, Mahomes was horrific last year. Maye, not much better, if any better at all this year. But this Seattle defense deserves all the credit in the world. Chris Collinsworth said in the broadcast, he said this is one of the best defensive performances that he's ever seen. And while some might think that's hyperbole because New England, like from a talent perspective on offense, is somewhat limited, Seattle did not allow them to do anything that they do well. Like New England's best, the best things they did in offense all year was explosive passes, because Maye was the best deep ball thrower in football this year, and Drake Maye using his legs and athleticism to create. And Seattle did not allow that to happen at any capacity. They were so good at all three levels. And Mike Macdonald's game plan was just absolutely out of this world. Mike Macdonald is the first defensive play calling head coach to win a Super Bowl, which is very historic. He's the third youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl. And one thing about Mike Macdonald is that a lot of those guys on the Seattle defense, you look at and you thought like their best years are behind them, like a Leonard Williams, like a DeMarcus Lawrence, like I'm trying to think of other guys, like a Julian Love, former Giant. He gets the best out of all these players. He did that with the Ravens as well. Like when he left the Ravens, a lot of those guys who had career years in 2023 regressed immediately after he left. So I think Seattle's defensive effort, A, it's because they're really talented, and B, it's because they're incredibly well coached. And we saw that against the New England offense that just looked completely overmatched.
Yeah, all credit to Mike Macdonald. Like, he was the star of the show. It almost felt like a college team in the sense that the biggest star on the team was the head coach. And
yeah,
I don't think you could say that a ton. And I think one of the keys to the game that I was adamant about was Josh McDaniels had to be the better play caller in this game. There was no path to victory. Yeah, there was no path to victory for New England winning unless Josh McDaniels thoroughly outcoached Mike Macdonald. Or Mike Macdonald. I said Mike McDaniel. Mike Macdonald.
Yeah.
Took too much melatonin, but Josh McDaniels did not impress me in this game. Mike Macdonald did, and that it played out. I know it was 29-13. It could have been a lot bigger than that. Like, Seattle just was not very efficient deep in New England territory. The New England defense made some plays. Christian Gonzalez made some plays, but I'm thoroughly impressed with Seattle. We'll talk about Seattle in their future down the road along in New England, but Seattle played very well. Their best players were their best players. Sam Darnold, I didn't think was amazing in this game, but I think the key for him was not to make any dumb mistakes, and he didn't. He had a bad miss to JSN that took 7 points off the board, but at the same time, he didn't make a big mistake. Drake Maye did. Seattle's the depth players were better than New England's depth players, and that's how it played out, and that's why Seattle won very easily.
And when you look at this game, you see a guy like Riley Mills, who had no sacks in his entire career, get a sack on Drake Maye on a second down, or on a second down play to set up a 3rd and long. Derek Hall, who not many people know of, like he's a starter on the team, but kind of an unknown player, has 2 sacks, has a strip sack. Devin Witherspoon was absolutely incredible. I think you could make a case that he could have won the MVP of the game in terms of coverage and blitzing. I mean, his play to knock the ball free from Maye's hands, Nwosu picks it up, runs it all the way back. Byron Murphy, who is an excellent interior defensive lineman, he had a sack. Like, Seattle's stars defensively played like stars. And I know they wanted to bounce back because this is a Seattle defense that has a lot of pride. I mean, they called themselves the dark side for a reason. Like, they take pride in what they do on that side of the ball. They are so well coached. They know exactly what to do. They are so physical. And like they were not happy with how they performed against the Rams in the championship game. Like they won the game. They won that game because of Sam Darnold and the offense. They gave up 27 points. They did make the key stop in the red zone, but they did not really force the Rams into a lot of conflict in that game. So I feel like they wanted to bounce back in the Super Bowl, and they sure did. Like New England, the only points New England scored when the game was like reasonably in doubt, like I said, was Maye's touchdown to Mac Hollins. Really, Maye's only great throw of the game. He made two nice throws in that drive, both to Hollins. The second touchdown to Stevenson was a complete garbage. And the game was completely over. I believe Mike Macdonald had already been doused in Gatorade at that point. They go for two, they don't get it, and that's all she wrote. So look, Seattle clearly the more talented unit on that side of the ball. On that day, the better coached unit. Like I said, Josh McDaniels. People talk about Drake Maye in this playoff run. Josh McDaniels in this playoff run, I don't think impressed me either. Like his game plans in all four of the games were really underwhelming, and they got away with it because they played teams that were just worse offensively than they were in the Chargers and the Texans, and of course the Broncos with their backup quarterback in. The Seahawks, well, again, not great offensively in this game. They moved the ball, they capitalized to some degree, and New England couldn't get away with another poor offensive game plan, another poor quarterback performance, and just poor execution all around. And it bit him in the butt. It bit him in the butt in this one. So, congrats to the Seahawks. The best defense, one of the best defenses in football all year. Them in Houston were really in a class of their own. The last four games, Seattle's last four games, they give up 3 points to the Niners in Santa Clara. They give up 6 points to the Niners in the divisional round, 27 points against the Rams in the de facto Super Bowl, the way I like to call it, and then 7 non-garbage time points against New England. And even those 7 points, it was 19-0 in the fourth quarter. So you want to call those garbage time, fine. Against a quarterback that was named second team All-Pro this year. So what great job. Well done. We'll move to the other side of the ball quickly here and talk about Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, in my opinion, was not the story in this particular game because he was not great. He was 19 of 38 for barely over 200 yards, threw one touchdown to Barner, like I mentioned, passer rating of 74. His QBR was 53, so a scale of 0 to 100, that's an above average performance. Look, Darnold in this game did what they needed him to do. He was a solid game manager. They said, we'll let the defense take over, just move the ball, get a couple nice drives, put some points on the board, and that should be enough for us to win. And that's exactly what Sam did. Like, he was inaccurate on some throws, but the best thing that he did in this game was he avoided the negative plays. And that, despite the fact that he had a really good season overall, the negative plays was really only the only bugaboo of Darnold throughout the year, because he threw 14 interceptions. He lost 6 fumbles. He had 20 turnovers overall, but in 3 playoff games, 0 turnovers once again. Seattle's offense as a whole had 0 turnovers. So very impressive work there. But let's talk about Darnold for his career as a whole, because not just this game, but for his career. Because if you told me, hell, 2 years ago, that I'd be watching Sam Darnold hoist up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the Super Bowl to cap off a season, I would have told you to turn off your Xbox. Like, I would have seen it happening. And then he does it. And he goes to he goes to Seattle, a team that both you and I had very low expectations for, a team that both of us predicted to miss the postseason altogether. And they prove us completely wrong. They showed their offseason moves of moving off from Geno Smith, moving off from DK Metcalf, bringing in a guy like a Cooper Kupp, bringing in a veteran player like a DeMarcus Lawrence, drafting a Gray Zabel on the inside, and bringing in Darnold, who we had questions about even after last year. It paid off. It paid off to the highest degree. So what can you say about Sam Darnold going from a bust to, just a certified bad starter in Carolina to a backup and now a Super Bowl champion quarterback?
I did not see it coming. I always thought Sam Darnold was a bust. I didn't like him coming out of college. Like, I thought he was a mid-first round pick that was overdrafted, and I wasn't surprised when he flamed out in New York. But I always thought like he had like potential. So I was one of those guys like, okay, he could stick around as a backup. We'll see. Maybe he could be he could have his career reinvigorated, and that's what happened. And I kind of said it when Verderame was there. I kind of said it towards the end. But Sam Darnold winning this could be a gift to a lot of like bust quarterbacks. Like, now you're gonna have people who will defend Kyler Murray to the woodwork, saying, no, it's not him, it's the Arizona organization. It's not Bryce Young, it's the Carolina organization. That, like, Sam Darnold winning this is going to lead to a lot of bust or not very good quarterbacks getting unlimited more chances.
Yeah,
because Sam Darnold did this, and He wasn't amazing in the playoffs. Like I thought he played very well in the NFC Championship, but he didn't blow me away. Didn't blow me away against San Francisco, but granted, he didn't really need to do anything in that game.
No, God,
But
no.
he played good enough. Like I think as long as Sam Darnold wasn't a disaster in this game, they were fine. Drake Maye, I think, needed to play excellent in this game for New England to win. Sam Darnold just needed to not play terrible, and that's what happened. But I'm happy for Sam Darnold. He's a good guy. He has a Super Bowl ring. Whether he can keep it up next year, we'll talk about that later. But good for him. Seattle's offense didn't blow me away in this game. I just thought they were the
They didn't
much
need
better
to.
team, and their defense was very efficient. And everyone knew Seattle's defense was the better unit
Yeah.
for the team. The offense just could not be a net negative, and they weren't a net negative by any means, and that's why they won, and they won easily.
And look, their offense really held its end of the bargain throughout the year. The only game where I look at and say, man, their offense lost in this game was the Rams game in week 11. And of course, that was Darnold's really his only disaster class this season. He threw 4 interceptions, and they still almost won that game. They held a great Rams offense to just 21 points in SoFi in LA. So that just shows how buttoned up the Seattle defense was, just how well coached they are, how all of them knowing their exact assignments on every play and how physical they are on that side of the ball. And this game put it on full display there. Like New England's were just simply out physicaled, out schemed in every sense of the word. And for Darnold, like so his class was the first class I graded. It was the first class where I ranked the quarterbacks coming out. And I unlike you, I had him first. I had him as the best quarterback in the class. I had him first. I have it pulled up right here in my notes back from April of 2018. It goes back that far. I had Darnold first. I had Baker Mayfield second. I had Lamar Jackson third. I had Josh Rosen fourth. And then I had Josh Allen fifth. I was not a Josh Allen believer, so that proves me wrong there. So I always liked his talent. I like the fact that due to his age, like he was only 20 years old, that like there's still so much more room for growth. I thought his first year at USC as a starter, where they won the Rose Bowl, I thought he looked like a perfect prospect. His second year there, not as good. But he definitely felt like he had the NFL tools, but he, unfortunately for him, he went to the Jets, and that pretty much is all she wrote there. And they hire Adam Gase, who, by the way, Chargers hiring Adam Gase on purpose a day after Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl was something else. So they hire Adam Gase. That's pretty much that was the end of his career in New York there, and they have no talent around him. He goes to another bad situation in Carolina. But I think the thing that really saved his career was the year that he spent with the 49ers backing up Brock Purdy in 2023. Getting the coaching from Kyle Shanahan, learning from a guy like Purdy, who, while younger than him, I feel like Purdy is the type of quarterback whose skill set is the things that Darnold was really bad at early in his career, whether it's processing and pocket awareness. And he's still not exceptional at either of those things, but he's certainly significantly better than he was before he went to San Francisco. And that's really showed up over the last couple of years. So Sam Darnold, look, it's a great story. It's a great redemption story. Probably the craziest story that I've seen since Kurt Warner, where the difference is Kurt Warner was an undrafted guy who came out of nowhere around the same age Darnold is now, ironically, and becomes a 2-time MVP, a Hall of Famer, and wins a Super Bowl his first year as a starter. Whereas Darnold is a guy who was a highly touted prospect, bust, has a good statistical season and a good situation, but a bad ending to the season in the playoffs, goes on to a team that, again, nobody really thought much going into the year and takes home the Lombardi trophy. So good for Sam Darnold, good for the Seahawks. Like I said, they are a deserving champion. They take home the hardware in an unpredictable, unconventional season in the year 2025/2026. All right, let's talk about his contemporary in this game, Drake Maye. Drake Maye, again, the box score. Drake Maye's stat line in this game is a perfect example why the box score is the biggest liar in sports. He threw for 295 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He threw for 235 yards in the fourth quarter, which is a Super Bowl record. And yet anyone who actually watched that football game knows Drake Maye, while he did not have a lot of help, while Josh McDaniels did not help him out from a play calling perspective, he stunk in that game. And he stunk pretty much the entire postseason, with the exception of the second half against the Chargers. I thought he was, considering how good Houston's defense is and the weather conditions of that game, I thought he was halfway decent against the Texans, but he was terrible against the Broncos, and he was terrible in this game. Fourth quarter stat padding be damned. And it makes you wonder, like, did we put Drake Maye into a tier too early in the regular season when he was putting up great numbers week after week, Of course, he led the league in completion percentage. He led the league in EPA per play. He led the league in EPA per dropback. He led the league in passer rating, yards per attempt. He was the most efficient passer in football this season. But the biggest caveat was the schedule. Like, the schedule was an absolute cupcake. They beat just one team with a winning record all season. That was Buffalo in week 5. And yes, well, they did get to the Super Bowl. They played 3 teams whose offenses are just so limited that New England could basically do the bare minimum in those games and still come away with a win. And that was not the case on Sunday. So does this game change how you view Drake Maye, or not just this game, this postseason run as a whole, considering, like, yes, he played 4 great defenses, but if your argument for him struggling is, well, he played great defenses, that shows that, is he good enough to play well against the best defenses in the league, or is he just a guy who pads his stats against the Jets and the Dolphins in November?
To be honest, this playoff run did change how I view Drake Maye. I think going into the postseason, I didn't view him as a guy who could break into that tier 1 or tier 2 of quarterbacks with Mahomes in tier 1, maybe Allen is there with him, plus Lamar and Burrow. There's a chance he could have broken into that tier with a strong run, but obviously that didn't happen. I think he's now closer to tier 4. Like, with tier 3 is probably that weird mix of like Stafford, Justin Herbert. Like, maybe I'm forgetting somebody.
Dak.
That's like maybe like Dak, like 5 to 8, but like not quite the strong guy. I think the strongest guys. He's probably in that tier, but he might be closer to tier 3. Like, maybe he has like a CJ Stroud type decline where CJ Stroud was in his rookie year, but like wasn't quite as strong as people think it is, and then it had a very ugly ending that he just took him a while to recover from, and his supporting cast just wasn't there. We'll see if Will Campbell's apparently going to stick a tackle, according to Mike Vrabel. Hopefully they can protect him, give him a better offensive line and a better receiving core. They have a lot of young pieces there. We'll talk about New England's future in a little bit, but I'm not going to overreact. I think Drake Maye is still a very good young quarterback.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and anoint him like a top 5 quarterback. I think that's insane. I think if he had a strong finish to the postseason, even if he lost, but he had a strong postseason overall, you could certainly argue he's the 5th best quarterback in football. But that's not what happened, and I think he's closer to like the 12th best quarterback.
No, like, look, he's definitely in the top 10. Would you say that? He's clearly in the top 10.
I think he's in the top 10, but I think he's closer to 12 than 5. Like, or
Yeah,
maybe closer to 10
the
than
guys
5.
I'm taking over him, like Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Stafford. I take Prescott.
I take Herbert.
Herbert. So, like, he's 8.
I'm
I
not a
think he's
Herbert
better than
guy.
everybody else. What?
I think he's there with Dak. I think I would take Dak barely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Like, I would put Maye. I'd put him over Darnold. Result of this game be damned. I'd put him over Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I think he's like that 7 to 9 range. He's very good.
Well, he's close with Jordan Love with me. Like, it's very. I think Jordan Love had an underrated year. I think if Jordan Love played like 2 more games, played a full season, like he legit should have been an MVP nominee, but he did miss those 2 games, and Green Bay was a 7th seed, so he did deserve it. I think Jordan Love pound for pound was a top 5 quarterback this year. But
Jordan Love played well. Jordan Love's very good. Jordan Love, I think, is another top 10 guy. Like, I think the bottom 3 of the top 10 in some order, in my opinion, are Maye, Love, and Darnold. That's my 8 through 10. And then my 1 through 7 is the big 4, Stafford, Prescott, Herbert. And then it's those 3 guys, 8 through 10. We'll do another ranking in the offseason. We'll save that for later in the offseason. But regardless, I still think Drake Maye is very good. But I do think people overreacted to him lighting up some of the worst teams in football this year. Like, yes, you were awesome against the Jets. Who wasn't awesome against the Jets this year? You lit up the Bengals with Joe Flacco. You lit up the Giants on a Monday night game. You know, it was like Patriots fans were just so, up in arms about it. But the reality is the Patriots' success this year, yes, they were a good team. Yes, they were a consistent team, but it was also propped up by playing a weak schedule and getting an easy inside straight to the Super Bowl. So the next question that this brings up is, whenever a team like the Patriots, a team that nobody expected to be there, a team that many people agree overachieved, loses the Super Bowl, they make a deep run in the playoffs, but they lose. A big talking point as of recent is they're never going to get back. That was their only shot. They blew their only opportunity. And this Patriots team is eerily similar to the 2021 Bengals, where you have a second-year quarterback, you have a team that goes from worst to first, and they get all the way to the Super Bowl and they lose. Although the Bengals were much more competitive in their matchup than the Patriots were on Sunday. The Bengals got close the next year, but obviously they're super far away now. My response is the things that are advantageous for the Patriots are the AFC, I think, is in a pretty rough spot at the moment. We'll see what happens in free agency. We'll see what happens in the draft. But as it stands now, the AFC as a conference is very weak. And in comparison, just using the Bengals comparison, Mike Vrabel, I think, is a much better coach than Zach Taylor. Say what you will about Robert Kraft as a person. He's a much better owner than Mike Brown. And I think the people who run the Patriots are better at their jobs than those who run the Bengals. So I wouldn't be shocked if New England gets back and I wouldn't pick it next year, but like a year, or like 2 years, 3 years, if they upgrade their offensive line, if Campbell improves, they upgrade the receiving room. I like their defense a lot. Their defense, once again, quietly, really good in this game, but it's going to get forgotten because of the result. So I think they have it pretty close to figured out on that side of the ball. But you got to wonder, like, they overachieved, they get to the Super Bowl, and they lose in pretty lopsided fashion. If you're a Patriots fan, you don't want to admit it. It's like, man, are we ever going to get back? Because Mahomes is coming back healthy next year. Lamar is going to be healthy next year. We'll see what happens with Burrow. Is he going to be healthy for a full year? We'll see if Joe Brady is an upgrade over Sean McDermott. We had an easy path. We got there, and I'm in the camp that getting to the Super Bowl is an accomplishment regardless of result. But we fell just short. So you got to wonder, like, is this Patriots team, are they a one and done, or are they going to be around for a while?
I think they're going to be around for a while, just in terms of I think they're going to be good and relevant. I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth by any means.
Yeah.
Unless Drake Maye has injury problems in the future. But no, I'm not. I don't buy into this nonsense that, just because a young team made a deep run early, they're automatically going to be back. I saw that with the Chiefs because Andy Reid was an established coach, and Chiefs fans saw Mahomes could actually be an all-time great, not just a really good young quarterback. I don't see it with New England in terms of like, they're definitely going to be back. I think they could definitely win the AFC East next year, definitely win a playoff game or two. But this notion that, they just need to do what they need to do and they'll be back in the Super Bowl, I just think that's ridiculous. Like, I saw through it with Washington. A lot of people last year said, Washington's going to be back. Jay Daniels is a stud.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be fine. Like, I'm like, no, that team has a lot of problems. Like, that the fact they made a conference championship was just kind of fluky, that they just happened to face a defense that was missing a million guys. And the Patriots got a pretty easy path to the Super Bowl. I know that they're going to say the defenses were amazing, but when you face three offenses that were as atrocious as they were, Justin Herbert was atrocious in that game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah.
New England defense played well, but he was awful. He missed a lot of wide open guys. CJ Stroud played perhaps the worst game quarterback has played in the divisional round conference championship or Super Bowl since Carson Palmer in the 2015 NFC Championship game. And then they played Jared Stidham, and the Broncos scored 7 points. Like, and the Patriots were basically gifted a touchdown with a short field. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't care if they played elite defenses. It's not like if they truly blew out one of those, like the Chargers, like, okay, that game was kind of a blowout on paper.
Yeah,
but like,
somewhat. Yeah.
The Chargers were in that game like significantly into the second half. It's not like they were out of it. But like if they beat like the Broncos, they beat them like 31-10 or something like that. Okay, fair enough. Like, okay, you at least did it, but no, they didn't. So I think that just shows that like the margin between them being a first round exit and them going to the Super Bowl, that margin is not as big as people think it is. And any objective Patriots fan that's willing to be honest will kind of say, we're glad we made the deep run, but let's not sit here and pretend what we did was super sustainable. I think what Seattle did was sustainable because I think they genuinely have a very good roster and they showed it. Like the Patriots, like I wouldn't be shocked if next year they went like 9-8 and they were like a 7 seed and like got bounced in the first round. Like, would anybody really be shocked if that was the case?
No,
not really. I mean, the Chiefs had a down year. Baltimore had a down year. The Bills, I guess you could say, had a down year, but like you could
given
argue
expectations they did. Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
Like Cincinnati. How long is Cincinnati going to be lying dormant for? Maybe forever. But like this is the down year for the AFC. Like that's why we put so much pressure on Buffalo. It's like there's not really that much competition. And in the conference championship game, they faced a backup quarterback that played 0 snaps prior to that game. It's not like they had a Nick Foles backup in there where Denver like had that quarterback playing for multiple games before that, and that backup actually earned his way to the conference championship. No, they faced a quarterback who did not enter the game before because the quarterback he replaced got injured on the second to last play of the game. Like that's as big of a gift as you could imagine. Like I guarantee you, every single Patriots fan would have been rooting for exactly what happened. All due respect to Bo Nix's ankle, rather than playing Buffalo in the conference championship game. Like if the goal is just winning, they would much rather face the Jarrett Stidham Broncos in Denver than Josh Allen at home. Like who are we kidding ourselves? I said that to say that New England's not screwed by any means. I'm not trying to like downplay it. Oh, they're done forever. They could.
And by the way, they have a ton of cap space. They have among the most cap space in the league.
They have 42 million. Yeah. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they played in another Super Bowl within 5 years, but like it's not a guarantee. I mean, who knows? Like something like it could be an injury problem. It could be like, hey, like Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, those guys don't progress. Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs take a step back, and all of a sudden their weapons around Drake Maye are not very good, and then they just don't hit on the offensive line. And then like Drake Maye has nothing around him, and then that defense is built on a lot of veterans, and those guys, Christian Gonzalez gets a bigger contract, and their defense just get older. Like it's the NFL, man. If you have one or two bad drafts in a row, your roster could go from very good to very below average very fast.
Yeah, and Elliott Wolf, their GM, like I think the jury's still kind of out. It's still early in his tenure. He's made some really nice picks. He has also had some he had a really bad draft in 2024. But one thing that he's done really well is free agency. Like you sign a Stephon Diggs, you sign a Milton Williams, you sign a Mac Hollins, you sign a Carlton Davis, and those guys are big reasons why you were in this game. You sign a Morgan Moses at right tackle. Like I think this Patriots team, I don't think they were like complete frauds. I do think they were a legitimately good football team. But they were like an 11-6 team that went 14-3 because of the schedule, and they drew an inside straight to the Super Bowl. And of course, they're playing a first place schedule next year. So all those Patriots fans who say the schedule wasn't the biggest reason why they were in the Super Bowl, we'll see. We'll see if they're proven right next season. But I think there are some things to like. Like I do think they have good ownership. I think they have a great coach, a very good coach at least. Although Vrabel made some interesting fourth down decisions in that game. But that's neither here nor there. And a very, very good young quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, and some really nice pieces on defense. But they need to upgrade the skill positions on their offense, and they need to fix that offensive line. And if they do that, they'll be a contender for a while. Because if you have the coach and the quarterback right, that's a 10-0 lead already. But they have some things to fix, and if they want to ensure that they're not one of these teams who kind of fluked their way to a Super Bowl and never got back. All right. The winner in this game, the Seahawks. The last talking point from this game, of course, when a team wins for the first time, in most cases, the question's asked, like, can this team become a dynasty? And it was asked with the Chiefs when they beat the 49ers at the end of the 2019 season, and that ended up coming true. They made it back the next year. They won 2 Super Bowls shortly after in a row, and they cemented themselves as an NFL dynasty, winning 3 Super Bowls in a 5-year span. But there's some instances where a team wins a Super Bowl on their first try, and people ask that question, and it never comes close to being true. We saw it with the Packers when they won in 2010 with Aaron Rodgers. Like many people thought they were going to become a dynasty, and they never got back. We saw this with, ironically enough, the Seahawks when they won in 2013. They got back the next year. Maybe they would have been one, but we all know how that game ended. Now that stings a lot less for Seahawks fans now than it did prior to the game on Sunday. But this Seattle team, there's obviously a lot to like. Great coach, great roster, great GM, very good quarterback. But I think the dynasty word is thrown around a little too much. Do I think they're going to be a dynasty? No, because I just think it's so hard to be a dynasty. Like there's usually one dynasty every decade. Like it was the Packers in the 60s, the Steelers in the 70s, the 49ers in the 80s. Although that one was a little spread out. They won 2 at the back end of the decade. The Cowboys in the early 90s, the Patriots in the 2000s, early 2000s, the Patriots in the 2010s, and then the Chiefs, the 2020s, and then of course the tail end of the 2010s. Dynasties are not something that come around often. I do think this team is not a fluke in any stretch. I don't think it's gonna be one of those years where I don't think this is a 1991 Reds or Commanders, to be politically correct, situation where they won the Super Bowl and like that was all they did. Like they were the super dominant team that wins the Super Bowl in dominant fashion and they never come close to getting back. I do think the Seattle team's gonna be around for a while, as long as Mike Macdonald's there, as long as John Schneider's there. But I think people need to be careful when they throw around the word dynasty, especially given the fact they play in a division with Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. Like that division has been beating each other up for the last decade plus. Like pretty much the NFC Super Bowl participants, people talk about lack of parity in the AFC. The NFC Super Bowl participants have pretty much been the NFC West just replaced the Cardinals with the Eagles over the last decade. Because the Rams have gone twice, the Niners have gone 3 times in the last 15 years, the Seahawks have gone 3 times in the last 15 years, winning twice. So it's a tough division, but they have the foundational pieces. They have their quarterback in Darnold, they have their coach, and they have their GM. But again, a dynasty, I think people need to be a little more careful with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they win another Super Bowl within 2 or 3 years, then we could start having that conversation.
Yeah.
But until we get there, no. They have the foundation. I believe in Mike Macdonald and I believe in John Schneider, so they have two of the most important pieces. I still don't fully trust Sam Darnold. He won a Super Bowl, so who am I to question him? But like, I don't think he's like a good enough of a quarterback where you could definitely say, "Oh yeah, he's the guy." But like, if he could play
like a quarterback of
a
a dynasty, like a Hall of Famer,
yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
If he could actually play somewhat close to where he was the first half of this regular season, yeah, they could be a dynasty, like easily. But life comes at you fast. I know they have a lot of cap space, but they're going to have guys that are going to get significant raises. That cap space is going to disappear. If John Schneider can continue drafting as well as he has, it's not going to be a problem. But again, you have to do it. They have to do it first. We can't just like say, oh, they're going to be a dynasty when they have one ring and they missed the playoffs the previous 2 years. We'll see. We'll see if Mike Macdonald can keep up. I believe in him, but got to see it to believe it.
But speaking of John Schneider, like his drafting over the last 3 years, 4 years really, has been absolutely obscene. Like ever since 2022, here are his drafts. 2022, Charles Cross, Boye Mafe, Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, Abe Lucas, Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen. 2023, Devin Witherspoon, JSN, Derek Hall, Zach Charbonnet. 2024, Byron Murphy, Tyrese Knight, AJ Barner. And then this past year, an insane class. Gray Zabel looks like a really good young guard. Nick Amon-Wari, Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. Elijah Arroyo, decent depth tight end. Riley Mills hit a sack in the Super Bowl. Torrey Horton looked like a nice young receiver before he got hurt this year. So, like, John Schneider's drafts have been absolutely absurdly good. That's a big reason, in addition to Mike Macdonald's coaching, as to why they are where they are. I do think they're going to be a contender for a while. I think they're going to be a perennial playoff team because when you have the coach right and you have the GM right, that's a lethal combination. Do I think they can win the Super Bowl next year? Yeah, absolutely. I would not be shocked at all if they're in SoFi Stadium on Super Bowl Sunday next year, coming off a Super Bowl championship. But the dynasty talk should not be thrown around until a team wins 2, because 3 is a dynasty for me. I'm a tough grader with this. When a team wins 3, that's when I consider them a dynasty. If you win 2, you can start having that conversation. Like when the Chiefs beat the Eagles in 2022, that's when the dynasty talk started, and they cemented it. They cemented it the next year when they beat the Niners. So look, they have the talent, they have the coach. But if they win another one, then we can start having that talk. But with that being said, a great team, a deserving champion, and that parade in Seattle tomorrow, I'm sure is going to be absolutely electric. Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl 60 champions in the 2025 season. All right. Speaking of Super Bowl champions, Lucas and I are going to do a quick exercise where we rank the last 10 Super Bowl champions. That goes back to the 2016 season to now, obviously. So the last 10 years. So we'll give our 6 through 10. We'll do a little quick blurb if we even think it's necessary on our last 10 champions. So worst to best. So 10 for me, the worst champion of the last decade, in my opinion, is the 2018 Patriots. At 9, I have the 2023 Chiefs. At 8, Lucas, you're not going to like this one. You're a lot higher on this team than I am. I have the 2021 Rams. At 7, I have the 2017 Eagles. And at 6, I have the 2019 Chiefs. So to repeat, the 2018 Pats at 10, the 2023 Chiefs at 9, the 2021 Rams at 8, the 2017 Eagles at 7, and then the 2019 Chiefs at 6.
We're actually pretty similar, except for one team which you were correct on. 10, I have the 2018 Patriots. 9, the 2023 Chiefs. 8, the 2020. Actually, no. The first two were right. 8, the 2017 Eagles. 7, the 2019 Chiefs. And then 6, I have this year's Seattle Seahawks.
So you have the Seahawks at 6. So they did not crack your top 5. So, all right. So you have the 2018 Pats at 10, 2023 Chiefs at 9. Is that correct? The 2017 Eagles at 7.
Yep.
The 2019 Chiefs at, no, 2017 Eagles at 8, 2019 Chiefs at 7, and then the Seahawks at 6. All right. Are we going to give
To be
our
honest,
5 through? Go
to be
ahead.
honest, we were pretty much exactly.
Yeah.
We had the same order of the 4 teams we both had in the bottom 5. We had them in the exact same order, except you just had the 2021 Rams a lot lower than me that were inserted right like at 8, I believe you had them. Like, so we see these teams pretty similarly. It's just except for the Rams that they're wrenching thing.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like this Seahawks team, I just have higher. We'll see where I place them, just because their metrics were super strong. I mean, I believe the spreadsheets. They said they were the best team in football all season. I mean, I believe they're top 10 all time in team DVOA, top 10, top 12. Like they're a historically good team by that margin. I don't have it at number 1, but I have them in the top 5. Not to spoil anything. So number 5 for me, I have the 2020 Bucks. Look, they were a wild card team, so I can't put them that much higher. But when they found their stride, they were just dominant on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you had Tom Brady at quarterback, who was still, even at his advanced age, was still an excellent player. They had great receivers and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown before he went crazy again. Gronk was still a really good tight end. He wasn't peak Gronk, but he was still very good, still a great blocker and a great red zone threat. And their offensive line, very underrated. Ali Marpet, who was a terrific guard before he retired. You had Ryan Jensen at center. You had Tristan Wirfs, the best tackle in football, in my opinion, at right tackle his rookie year. Donovan Smith. Chiefs fans probably don't think of them that highly because he wasn't that good for us, but he was a good player that year for Tampa. But defensively, their defensive front 7 was absolutely absurd with, Levante David and Devin White, who was actually like decent that year. He stinks now, but he was pretty good then. JPP, Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea. You had Antoine Winfield in the backfield. Bruce Arians was an excellent head coach. Todd Bowles was really good at coaching that defense. And of course they annihilated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I have them at 5. I'd have them higher, but I think they were a little too inconsistent in the regular season for me. They took a while to really find their stride, but they were dominant enough, especially in that Super Bowl, for them to be 5 for me.
Oh, we're just going. Oh, we're listening to
okay. We'll do that. I'll give my 4 through 1, and then you'll give your.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So number 4 for me, I'll spend less time. I have this 2025 Seahawks, like I mentioned. One of the best teams ever by DVOA, dominant defensively, probably the most advanced defensive scheme I've seen in quite some time, with Macdonald at the helm, and just very sound offensively. Like you had a quarterback who knew his role, made big plays when they needed. They had an excellent running game in Walker and Charbonnet. They had 2 offensive player of the years at wide receiver, although Cooper Kupp, not what he once was, but still an effective player. And an offensive line that exceeded our expectations. So I have them at 4 for me. Number 3, I have the 2022 Chiefs. Probably the best offense on this list. That offense was just so dominant. Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards, the only quarterback on this list to throw for that much yardage. Mahomes that year was the only MVP to win the Super Bowl in the last decade. Travis Kelce, really his last peak Travis Kelce season. They had a really good offensive line, really good. They had somewhat effective running game, which is weird to say for a Chiefs fan, but they actually ran the ball pretty well that year. And defensively, they weren't great, but they were good when they needed to be, particularly in the AFC Championship game against a good Bengals offense. They're number 3. Number 2 for me is the 2016 Patriots. They lost just 1 game when Tom Brady was in there. Brady that year, if he wasn't suspended for 4 games, probably would have been the MVP. He was pretty much perfect that entire season. His PFF grade for that season was 95, which was one of the highest marks ever. Tom Brady was absolutely out of his mind that year. And like I said, probably wins MVP if not for the Deflategate suspension. Look, just a really, I wouldn't say their roster was super stacked, but they were just really complete. They had very little holes. The receivers were good. Their offensive line was very good. Defensively, obviously with Belichick, they were really good on that side of the ball. With McCourty and Dante Hightower, and they had Chris Long that year, that 1 year for the Patriots, and of course they won the Super Bowl in dramatic fashion. I mean, they went 17-2, and one of those losses was with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So that's a team that I'm very high on historically. And number one for me, honestly, maybe the best team that I've seen in a while is the 2024 Eagles. I have them at 1.
Alrighty then. Okay. Number 5, I have the 2021 Rams. I just see this team fundamentally different than you do. I thought this team was. I don't care they were a 4 seed. I just don't give a shit. Like, to me, they were a 2 seed that was maybe could have been a 1 seed that was
Yeah.
masquerading as a 4 because 4 teams in the NFC went 12-5 or better and all happen to be spread out in different divisions. Like, I don't view that. I'm not going to punish that team for going. Maybe they should have. If they were 13-4, they would have been a lot higher on some people's lists. But I don't care. That was the best checks there for
You're
me.
you're you're cutting out. Hold on.
Oh,
Just talk a little bit.
yeah,
Lucas, you're cutting out.
perfect. Well, this is just
Oh boy.
this is awkward.
All right, sorry everybody. Lucas basically died on his end. So he said the 2021 Rams were number 5. So obviously his 1 through 4 is some order of the 2024 Eagles, the 2022 Chiefs, the 2020 Bucks, and the 2016 Patriots. We'll see if Lucas um is he back? Is he back? He just texted the list to me. Um
Can you hear me?
Here, let me leave and come back.
This is very awkward right now. It's
All right,
crashing.
Lucas, how you doing?
Uh, can you hear?
Oh, brother. Oh, brother, Lucas. Oh, brother. He is paused. He is not moving. He is malfunctioning. Folks, Lucas just texted me his list, by the way. I just saw him moving a little bit. He's paused again. His hands up by his head. We don't know how we're gonna handle this. So Lucas just texted his list to me because I don't think his computer's gonna cooperate much longer. He had the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs at number 4. He had the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 3. He had the 2016 New England Patriots at number 2, and then we had the same number 1. The 2024 Eagles were his top team, as he is just still paused on the screen. That should do it. Lucas is still not moving. I just heard a faint noise in the background. Bit of an awkward ending. Technology stinks. Internet stinks. Everything stinks. But that wraps up our last episode of the 2025 NFL season. The Seattle Seahawks, your Super Bowl 60 champions. We are now on to the draft. We are now on to free agency. Lucas and I will be back for some quarterback carousel predictions next week, among other things, as he is still pausing the screen. Lucas, I'm sure he has some great thoughts. I doubt he has any parting thoughts before we disperse, as he never does. But that's his list. That's his list. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. All right, did you stop the recording?